What's good? We back, man. Another live stream. You know I had to cook Aubrey. Y'all know I'm a cook Aubrey every single time, man. What's up with Aubrey, y'all? Drake just accused in a class action suit with Spotify for fake streams, y'all. Over billions, what they're saying, billions of streams that they're saying for Drizzy Drake, young Drizzy, they're saying are fraudulent, y'all. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. But you know what? I'm not surprised because this has been happening for a long time. A lot of your favorite artists that y'all love, they are out here, bro, faking streams. A lot of them, man. And I hope that all of them get exposed because Kendrick is just a prophesist at this point. He knows everything that's going on. He's starting to look like he's just the prodigal, the oracle, the foreshadower of it all. You know what I mean? He called it. We all knew it, but now it's starting to come out slowly but surely. All those layers are starting to get peeled back, and we're gonna talk about it, man, because why not? Why not? Okay. So first, let me bring this up for you guys. This is the Hollywood Reporter, guys. All right. This is the Hollywood Reporter. Okay. Credible source by Mr. Ethan Millman. All right. This dropped today, November 3rd, 2025. Drake accused of earning billions in fraudulent streams. The suit claims that allegedly Drake streams alone have cost other artists hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, guys. So Drake having fake streams isn't just affecting, all right, himself, but this is affecting others. All right. And of course, this is kind of what happens, man, when you have the biggest artist in the world, supposedly. When he drops, all other projects who, may have dropped that same day, unfortunately get suppressed, man, because this guy has, basically rigged up the game. All right. So let's get into this. It says a new class action lawsuit against Spotify accuses the company of allowing massive amounts of streaming fraud on its platform, with Drake in particular allegedly benefiting from billions of artificial streams. All right. So this is just straight up, guys. This is straightforward. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, man. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, okay? Because we bring in this raw. All right, this story just dropped today. So billions of streams, man, artificially. Are we really surprised, man? This is crazy, bro. Crazy. In the suit filed in federal court in California on Sunday, rapper RBX, who is also Snoop Dogg's cousin, claims that Spotify is all too happy to turn a blind eye to massive streaming fraud that takes place on the platform, which in turn siphons off royalties from other artists. All right. So this is kind of how it works, man. You're going to have a lot of people who have a lot of money tied up in royalties who just will not be entitled to those things because the algorithm is being tweaked, man, by fake artificial streams, man. All right. So look, Drake, who isn't named as a defendant in the complaint, is the only artist named in the suit. All right. RBX, whose real name is Eric Dwayne Collins, alleged that between January 2022 and September 2025, a substantial non-trivial percentage of Drake's 37 billion streams on Spotify during that time frame were inauthentic and appeared to be the work of sprawling network of bot accounts, guys. All right. So we already knew that they was botting, right? Kendrick exposed that already, but he was also leaving it in a lot of his raps, talking about people faking their streams, you know what I'm saying? And J. Cole even spoke on it as well. So clearly there was definitely some people who knew what was going on, right? At the end of the day, there were some people who knew that Drake was faking streams, all right? That Drake was using bots, all right? Him and OVO, whoever's behind him, were using bots to artificially inflate numbers. Okay, so like they allege in this case, okay, Snoop Dogg's artist RBX, okay, Eric Dwayne Collins, salute to him, saw irregularities between the January 2022 and September 2025, a substantial non-trivial percentage. All right, so that's a big percentage of those 37 billion streams. All right, while Drake is the only artist highlighted in the lawsuit, as the suit said, the alleged case does not stand alone. The artist and his team is not accused of fraudulent manipulation of streams, but is just listed as a beneficiary of the rampant fraud, right? Meaning that Drake was going to benefit directly from said streaming. Okay. So this is kind of crazy because we've been seeing this, we've been hearing Kendrick talk about it a lot. Kendrick exposed it. J. Cole talked about it as well, but nobody gives J. Cole the credit to him saying directly, like, hey, man, somebody's actually like doing this, right? People inflating their streams, you know what I'm saying? Everyone was talking about that, right? So, of course, now we're starting to see more and more, hey, man, there's some irregularity going on with Drake's music. We should look into this, right? So Spotify pays out artists in a pro rata model where all of the streams on the platform are compiled together and royalties get dialed out based on the artist's percentage of the overall streaming marketplace, right? So this is what a lot of people don't understand. You know, I've worked in the music industry for a pretty long time. And a lot of people don't understand that that is how it works. So the top artists, if they are the ones who are getting the majority of the streams, they feel, and this is how it's set up on Spotify, that the royalties are going to be the most paid out to them. So there is an incentive for them to push their streams far as they can to get the biggest pot of all those streams worldwide, right? Which is a dirty ass game, and Spotify is terrible for having it set up this way, right? If an artist uses bots or other fraudulent methods to artificially raise their stream count, it would unfairly give them a bigger take of the royalty pool and water down royalties that would go to legitimate streams instead, right? So just like I explained perfectly right before this, that's exactly what happens, right? If you're the big artist, you're taking the most, you're streaming the most, you will be entitled to the most royalties, right? But if you are faking those streams and you are inflating them to make it seem like you have more of the portions, then of course it would make it seem like you are entitled to it, but in reality, you're actually robbing somebody. You know what I mean? All right. Spotify is a sole defendant in the suit, and the bulk of the complaint is focused around the company's alleged inability and or unwillingness to police fraud, calling Spotify's effort nothing more than window dressing, inadequate at best. And that's true. The bigger artists, of course, there will also be record label incentives. So a lot of payola goes on. And so there is an incentive for them to let this type of stuff go on because a lot of these record labels need to make money on that investment, maybe that project, whatever that case may be, right? Streaming fraud has plagued the streaming services for years, with issues only exacerbated as fraudsters flood the zones with AI slop tracks and bot farms. All right. In a statement, a Spotify spokesperson refuted the notion that the company gains from streaming fraud and pointed towards efforts that the streaming service has instituted to combat the practice. Okay. So look, guys, it's pretty straightforward, man, that there's 100%. We already know that bots are, going to play a part. And then as well, just how you see where you have people like a Drake. He's a big artist, right? And he's going to be able to garner a lot of that. This guy's head, a lot of that overall pot. He's going to get it the most, right? He's going to be the one who takes the most of that if he's able to what? Push, right? Push as much of his narrative that he wants to have, and then he can go out of his way to what? Be able to maximize that pot, bro. And that's exactly what he did. Maximize the pot so that he can be able to what? Get the bigger percentages of those royalties from everyone else who is a part of the Spotify family. So, like they were saying, if someone is inflating the numbers, right? Because Spotify's setup is already rigged. If you're the one who's quote unquote streaming the most, then you will be entitled to the most royalties. Obviously, right? Obviously, there's going to be an incentive for that artist to make sure that he is pressing that line so that he can get the most out of this, right? So it's crazy how, Spotify is like running from, kind of the smoke in this sense because of the statements that they're making, but they do understand. I know they understand what this means for their, for their bottom line, and it doesn't look good, right? So Spotify says we cannot comment on pending litigation. However, Spotify in no way benefits from the industry-wide challenges of artificial streaming. We have heavily invested in always proving best in-class systems to combat it and safeguard artist payouts with strong protections like removing fake streams, withholding royalties, and charging penalties. Our systems are working. In the case from last year, one bad actor was indicted for stealing $10 million from streaming services, and only 60,000 of which came from Spotify, proving how effective we are in limiting the impact of artificial streaming in our platforms. But for more information about the artificial streaming, how artists can avoid it, and what Spotify is doing to tackle it, please visit. And there's a website, right? So I don't know, man. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. I think at this point, Drake is cooked. Drake is absolutely cooked. He's got some real problems that he's got to deal with, I think, and it's very unfortunate because we're not going to see this happen again, man. All this is now coming to light, and I think a lot of people, a lot of streaming services, a lot of people at large are over the fake numbers, they're over the fake bravado, they're over the fake streams, and so now they're trying to get to more something real. And if this is kind of the direction that they're going, a lot of people don't want anything to do with this, and justifiably so, man. So what? You guys let me know in the comments what you guys think, man. Do you think Drake was faking all those streams, all those billions of streams, man? Because look, there's a lot of artist suppression that goes on, and we're curious to see what you guys think, man. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe, leave it in the comments, and let me know, man. My name's Brandon B, and I'm out. Peace.